Girls' Night In threw out a lot of horror tropes about a deadly night with two women. This is exploring humanity through sci-fi. This continues my mission to get a better understanding of ourselves through sci-fi, fantasy, horror, and comics as our mode of exploration. Girls' Night In is a satirical horror short that was created based on the Bechdel test. The test examines a work of fiction to see whether there are interactions between female characters that don't involve discussing a man. Which, of course, begs the question, where is the most ridiculous place these two women could be fighting over some guy? So usually when you see a movie, it's usually Girls' Night Out, but this is different. This is a short called Girls' Night In. And it's a cool little movie. And today on Sci-Fi Talk, I have the film's director, Allison Roberto, and also Landon Lee, who wrote the screenplay. So ladies, Landon, we'll start with you. I love that you just threw in all these tropes and then essentially flushed them down the toilet. But what was it like to kind of craft this story?
I wrote it a few years ago when I was on dating apps, and my favorite icebreaker was, whenever they'd ask, what are you looking for in a guy? And I would just be like, just don't be a serial killer. Although at this point in my life, I'm not sure that's a deal breaker. So I was like, thinking about that. And also I love all the movies, like horror movies, like Scream, where there's a masked killer and anyone could be under the hood, and, finding like a Skeet Ulrich under the hood. You're just like, this isn't a deal breaker. And so that's kind of where that joke came from, where it's just like, he checks all the boxes except for this one thing. When girls the whole trope of fighting over another guy. And I just really leaned into that. And that's kind of how that story came about.
There's more with Girls' Night In just a moment. That was a surprise. That scene surprised me. And it's like a lot of the action takes place in the bathroom. So, Allison, what's it like shooting in? It looked like a cramped space.
It was. Half the movie takes place in a bathroom, a very narrow bathroom. We were lucky enough to find a location that the angle that you're seeing the camera from actually opened up into the bedroom.
Oh, good.
So we were all able to be on the other side of that. It wasn't a completely enclosed space. So we really lucked out with the location. A really good friend of ours allowed us to use their home because we were looking for a house with stairs, which, is surprisingly hard to find in California.
Yeah, that's so true. Mostly ranch styles. Yeah, you're right.
Exactly. And the bathroom just ended up being perfect because it allowed for 2 camera angles. We had, there was a separate door to where the toilet was. So we had one camera operator in there, and then we had our main camera from the angle that you see it that opened up into the bedroom. It allowed us all to be there. So while it looks really cramped and like a closed-in space, it actually wasn't. Oh, wow. And it ended up working out perfectly for what we needed.
Mm-hmm. Talk about your cinematography. You kind of put out all the stops in horror Clicheville.
We did, we really looked towards Scream and Jennifer's Body, and we love those satirical kind of horror tropes, and we wanted to do those slow push-ins and the moments of, is something going to be there, it's not there, kind of tricking the viewer. We wanted to play with all of that, the looking out from the point of view, that voyeuristic point of view of looking through a bathroom door or from a window from outside. We wanted to play into all of that because the first half of the film, we wanted it to feel very, very typical horror, like all the movies we loved. And then we really wanted, once we get into that bathroom and they get on the phone, we wanted to really surprise viewers with that satire twist.
Mm-hmm.
And we wanted it to feel surprising.
Mm-hmm.
So to do that, we really wanted to play into all of those horror movie tropes in the beginning of the film, how we played with the camera, how we played with the slow push-ins. And then, of course, the dramatic saturated lighting that I just love. That's in a lot of my work. So had to bring that in just for fun and color. But I think it really helped to, when we made that switch into satire and comedy, having set it up more traditional, I think really helped with that switch and with that dichotomy.
Mm-hmm. Landon, what was it like to craft these two, I guess, really superficial young ladies into this story, and talk about tropes? I mean, there was a lot of tropes in there about them and the way they behaved. Kind of like a little bit like Clueless and Mean Girls, a little bit mixed in, didn't it?
Which are huge influences in my comedy side. When crafting these characters, crafting any characters. Sometimes I will take from real people that I know and then either amplify a caricature aspect of them. And a lot of times I'll combine different friends because I really don't want one being like, this one, I feel like this is about me. And I'm like, no, it's part of you. But what I really liked about these characters was that, classically, they're both hot girls. And we just had to make one of them feel like the ugly friend, because in movies, like even the ugly friend is like really pretty. And you're just like, this, okay. And so I think that I also really pulled from the new series of Riverdale, where you have these high schoolers who are played by these late 20 beautiful, people, these grown-ups, and really, leaned into that. But I would say that coming up with these characters at the time when I wrote this kind of pulled from pop culture, characters. But then when we did the casting, so I had known Skylar and Jess for like 10 years now. And when we auditioned them and they read and they were cast, I went back and I tweaked some of the dialogue to match their voices and mannerisms, because I just knew them so well and I knew the characters so well, and I wanted it to feel more natural for them.
Mm-hmm. The actors are Jess Adam, who was Becca, and Skylar Benton, who is Delaney, and they were both terrific. And there's a scene, and just a mini spoiler, but she saw a guy in the house, and then they're eating pizza, and they're so caught up in themselves, they forgot all about him. So I thought that was that's not so impossible as it seems. But yeah, plugging them both in. Allison, what was it like to direct them?
Oh, this was Skylar's first speaking role.
Wow.
Which is incredible, right? I mean, she was amazing. And Jess has been in quite a few things. But together it was really powerful. We actually had them switched. So Jess was playing Delaney and Skylar was playing Becca in the very beginning in our rehearsals and in our casting process. And there was just this moment when they were reading through where I had this gut feeling. And I said to Landon, I'm like, I want to switch them. I know they didn't prepare for the other roles, but I think they're in the wrong parts. And she agreed. And in that moment, we're like, just switch parts and just read for the other character. And they did without preparing for it at all. And it just clicked. I was like, that's it. This is it. This is the cast.
Well, that was a great call. Great call. No doubt about it.
It just worked so well. They were fantastic. We did rehearsals together beforehand. When we got in there that night, I was so impressed with them. I really was. We shot everything in one overnight. So it was a very aggressive schedule, and they had to nail a lot in a short amount of time. And they both did such a beautiful job. They were absolutely the right call for those roles. They really became those characters. And it was a lot of fun working with them.
The conversation on Girls' Night In continues in a moment. I couldn't see them in the original way, in the original parts. It looked like it's like a glove. It just fits so well, It's that kind of thing.
Yep.
I got to ask you, ladies, and we'll start with Landon first. What's it like to be selected by Tribeca? I mean, the festival is, it's huge now, even more so than when I first started covering it.
I would say so. Like I was saying before, when I went to undergrad at NYU, I volunteered for Tribeca, like at Tribeca. And, you volunteer for a t-shirt and you work the whole thing. And if you're lucky, you get to sneak into, a screening, but just being in that environment meant so much to me at the time. And, being able to go and attend as an official selection it's almost like a full circle. Like it's amazing. It's such an honor. And, I know that when Allie and I were looking at festivals, I was like, Tribeca's my number one. And I think it's because I had such a huge connection with it.
That was our number one. I mean, Landon and I both agreed all that mattered was Tribeca. I'm from the East Coast. I went to college at SVA in New York. I spent 15 years in Brooklyn and in New York. That's my home. So to be able to, it's one of the top festivals in the world. I mean, it was our little self-funded passion project made it all the way there. And that was our goal, our dream. That would be the highest bar we set for ourselves. And so when I got the call from them, because they call you in person, they don't just send you an email. They want to call you. They want to hear your voice. They want to ask questions. They really care about the film. And I'm like, this is a joke. This is like I'm being pranked right now. Like this isn't happening. But it was just the absolute ultimate. I mean, the ultimate goal to be able to go back home to with our family and friends to several viewings of the short at Tribeca, to be an official selection. I mean, I honestly don't think it gets better than that career-wise. It's such a huge, huge honor.
Oh, I think it'll get better, but it's certainly a good step. It's a great step. SVA, I actually lived on 23rd Street. Was that the campus you went to?
Yeah, the main buildings on 23rd. Yeah.
Yeah. We lived on the same block, and I would walk there all the time to Madison Square Park with my dog. She loved the dog park there, and it's a gorgeous little park. And I do miss walking on 23rd, as a matter of fact, but there's other challenges these days for me that I'm enjoying. Are you going to be both able to attend in person? Is that going to happen, or how, you just had a baby, Allison, so I can understand you might not want to, but what are your plans for that?
Our plans are to attend. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
I'm currently on tour right now with another movie, so I will only make the second screening, but I was just like, if I have to take a break from this tour and break off and do that, I will. But that is the plan right now.
Yeah, I totally understand, but hey, that's great. And to see it with an audience too. Have you ladies had that pleasure yet or no?
Yes.
We did.
I feel like such a creep because I'll turn around and just watch everyone watch it. I was like, I've seen this movie. I need to see everyone's reactions.
Yeah, we had a small premiere at Screamfest in Los Angeles. That was end of last year. And it premiered at the Chinese Mandarin Theater, which was very, very cool. Yeah. Such Hollywood history. Mm-hmm. And we got to premiere it to an audience and hear the laughter. And, the eruption of laughter throughout the film, and everyone was laughing in the right spots. And to be able to witness that was really cool. I'm like, okay, because a big issue, one of the big things Landon and I talked a lot about when we were creating this is are people going to get it?
Yeah.
Or is it going to go over their heads? Are they going to take it too literally? And yes, of course that happens. But when you're sitting in that audience and in that theater and everyone is laughing at the right moments and the jokes are hitting and they're obviously absorbing it and getting it, it's like such a beautiful and gratifying experience and feeling to be like, oh, okay, it hit. They got it.
Yeah.
Because, we talked a lot about Jennifer's Body and the fact that, when it came out, it didn't hit because it just wasn't, it was a bit too ahead of its time in the satire and comedy aspect of these characters. And people just ended up taking, Megan Fox like too literally. And that wasn't the point. And we were afraid the same thing would happen. But I think people were more ready and more open to the idea of female characters that are multifaceted, that are dimensional, that have many different aspects to them. We're used to seeing that more now in TV and film. So it was a great time to bring this story about and tell it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's very clever. It's funny and it has its horror aspects. I will say that Becca kind of gave me a, oh, wow, I did not see that coming moment. But I thought that was cool because, again, it takes the trope and throws it right out the window. And I totally appreciated that. And it was cool. How is your post-production on this?
Post-production, it went very well and very quickly. Honestly, one of our two cinematographers, Brian Henderson and Sebastian Paquet. Sebastian is an editor as well, and he's my partner in life and in work. And we did the edit. It was over COVID. We did it in our home.
Oh wow!
And
good place for it.
Yeah. We had Brian and Landon come over for some editing sessions and work with us on it. And it was literally just the four of us crafting the story. We knew what we wanted. And then we had an amazing sound designer, Alec Rube, who has done all the sound design for the Spider-Man movies.
Nice.
He loved the film so much and wanted to come on and help. Our dear friend Davey Oberlin from All the Damn Vampires scored the film and wrote original music for it. I was really inspired by the soundtrack and the music for It Follows. And wanted something really kind of synthy and creepy. And it kind of went really well with the saturated color of the pinks and the blues and all of the kind of visual and stylistic choices we made in the film. Our good friend, RKM Studios, Ryan, did the color grade, and he pumps up that color saturation for me all the time. He calls me barely legal saturation because I like to push it to the absolute limit, and really bring up that color, and it just gives it such a great look. So we had a very small post team, but they were all total rock stars. And I want to say we did the whole post process in like a month.
Wow, that's really good.
We wanted to get it into festivals. So it was very quick.
And because of COVID, we were fluent at the time in like Dropbox, in like doing notes on like the time, line. And so I would, be working and then get an edit and then be able to drop notes in like real time. And then we, Allie would be working with Ryan on color, and I was on my iPad, like logged in and just watching how things were going too. So I think that like, even though COVID has made it difficult in some ways of production for our post, I felt like it kind of made it easier because we all had the tools and the skill sets to, be present and, give the notes and like see what was happening without being there physically.
And that's very rare, Landon, that a writer is involved in anything besides writing the script. So the fact that you guys work so well together, and that's my next question, this looks like a partnership that might stick. Is that in the plans?
We have a few things like in the works because before this, I love telling the story of how, so Allie was approached to film, like direct a feature, like fully funded feature. And she read the script and she was like, I think something can be done with this script. She, graciously brought me on and was like, read it, see what you think. And I remember us talking and we were like, are we gaslighting ourselves into thinking this is good? Because this is not great. And we just weren't really comfortable with going through with it. And we had huge discussions because to be offered a feature, like a fully funded feature, it was like, oh my gosh, the time is here. But then we wanted to, and, Allie and I had been working on other projects beforehand. And so this short came about because we were like, we wanted to make something that we were going to be able to back and to do interviews and be excited about talking about it. Because had we done the other thing, I don't think we'd be in this like excited kind of giddy headspace.
Yeah, it dealt with some sensitive issues involving women's rights that that the writer, was taking one way and we were taking a very different way. And we didn't feel comfortable with it. Yeah. And so ultimately it was, we have to feel good about this. We have to feel good about the message that we're putting out there, especially at times like these. It's so sensitive in our country and in our legislature, right? Everything that's going on right now. So we had to feel really good about it. And so we abandoned it, said we couldn't do it, and then funded our own short instead.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you guys did. Because, it sounds like this one's a much better project than probably the other one was. Yeah. Again, ladies, congratulations. It's awesome. I love to see women flexing their muscles and creative muscles. And, Allie, bless you for being a filmmaker and a mom. Women can definitely multitask better than men can. That's for sure. and I'll say that publicly. But congratulations to you both. Landon, great job on the script and really just a movie that as soon as I started watching it, it was like, oh, okay, I know what this, I know what this is now. Okay. And it's like, and their interplay was just hysterical. And then the scene in the bathroom, wow, that was just several little like, whoa, okay, all right, this is not what I expected. And that shot of them on the floor, perfect shot. That was a great shot.
So thank you.
Congratulations. Best of luck to you both. And enjoy Tribeca and enjoy coming home, Allison. It's going to be fun.
Absolutely. And the last thing I wanted to say is Landon's been working on the feature version of Girls Night In.
I was going to ask, is that what it is? Oh, all right. Good.
And so that's our hope for our next project together. We've been working on a few things together, a series, but our hope for our next project together is to turn Girls Night into a feature. And she's got some great ideas around how to make that happen. So, and she's been working on that script. So we really hope that is what is to come out of all of this.
That sounds wonderful. The film is available on Tubi, which is free with commercials, and Plex, and which allows you to watch any movie for free, anytime, anywhere, and also Prime Video. Sci-Fi Talk Plus has a new offer of a low monthly price and a yearly plan that can save you 17%. And because of the yearly plan, you pay less than $2 a month. There's exclusive podcasts, bonus videos, and including my Behind the Curtain video series with clips, interviews, and behind-the-scenes footage. Click on the link in the show notes today to start your savings. I'm Tony Tellado. Thanks for listening.